Not being able to find something important and not being able to retrace your steps is one of the most frustrating feelings in the world. Whether it's your pair of shoes that you're pretty sure you kept in the shoe rack, your phone, or your car keys. It is most frustrating when you can't remember exactly where you parked your car. Most times, after a few minutes of forgetfulness and confusion, you find your car. We've all been there. But seldom do our memories fail us to the extent that we have to file a police report admitting we have lost it. That's exactly what happened to an unnamed man in Frankfurt in the 90s. In 1997, in the German city of Frankfurt, a man reported his car as stolen to the police. He'd searched for the car and after being unable to find it at the time, he reported it stolen. He lost hope that the car would ever be found and accepted his fate. Almost 2 decades later, in November of 2017, the authorities in the city tracked down the missing vehicle, only to discover that the man who owned it had in fact just forgotten where he'd parked the car and had assumed it had been stolen. In his defense, the vehicle was apparently hidden from plain sight, so he may have been just meters from it and never once known that it was there. And probably the car would have rot and decomposed if the building was never demolished. It turned out that the building was due for demolition, and the car was getting in the way of the demolition process, but nobody knew who owned it. The contractors eventually reported to the police, who were significantly better at finding the person who owned the car than they had been at finding the car in the first place. The German newspaper Augsburger Allgemein reported that the car's owner, who is now 76 years old, was driven down to the site to reunite with his vehicle, a Volkswagen Passat, in the company of his daughter. For a car that had been parked for over 2 decades, it was no longer in condition to kiss the tars of the road again. It was no longer roadworthy. The car can no longer be driven and will be sent to the scrap heap, the Frankfurt local authorities said. At this point, one would ask, of what benefit is this car to the owner? Wouldn't it have been better if it was never found, or better still, if it was found by thieves and probably sold for scrap? The 76-year-old owner would be lucky to scrape a couple of euros from the scrap metal, you'd have thought. There's no word yet on whether the car had a load of parking charges for leaving it in the same spot for 20 years. It would seem a tad harsh, given that nobody noticed it was there. The unidentified old man in Germany may have set a new Guinness record for foggy recall. He can lay claim to a trophy for the longest foggy recall. However, this is not the first time someone forgot where he parked his automobile. Also in Germany, there was another case of a man being reunited with his car 2 years after parking up and going on a drinking binge in Munich, only to forget where he'd parked. He reported the car missing, and eventually police found the vehicle 4 kilometers away from where he thought he'd parked it. The unnamed man was not only lucky to find the car, he was doubly lucky to have met the content of the car still intact. The car reportedly had 40,000 euros in cash in the boot, along with 50,000 euros worth of tools. In early 2017, a man from Scotland lost his car after attending a Stone Roses gig in Manchester. The man reportedly searched for the vehicle for 5 days before giving up. He even went to the extent of contacting the council and various companies in a bid to trace the vehicle. Tired of searching for the vehicle, he reported it stolen, but it was found 6 months later, exactly where he'd left it, though with a parking fine estimated at over £5,000. In 2016, still in the same United Kingdom, a man left his car parked in a multi-storey car park in Manchester whilst he went to watch the Stone Roses at the Etihad Stadium. If you've ever parked in a multi-storey car park, you probably can imagine the kind of parking cost that he had when he went to put his ticket in. Probably it was more than the car cost in the first place. These are two factors consistent in these stories. First, the culprits are all men. No single woman has been reported to forget their car, at least none that I have heard of. Are women more attentive to detail than men? Second, the culprits were too embarrassed to disclose their names, and they should be. It's not every day that a man forgets where he parked his car. Would you forget where you parked your car even if you were stone drunk? Let us know in the comment section.